welcome, and I hope everyone is doing well. This is AcquaTalks online presented by the Estates of Acqualina. I am Alexandra Wensley, your host and moderator for today's talk about where the Miami real estate market is really headed. The Miami real estate market is nothing short of impressive and shows no signs of cooling down. A recent headline in Forbes.com said, South Florida's real estate market is now officially in super boom mode. In fact, at the Estates at Acqualina, we closed on 46 deals totaling $375 million in the last 60 days. Our speaker today is not new to AcquaTalks. I am enthusiastic to have Craig Studnicky on AcquaTalks with us today. Please help me welcome Craig Studnicky.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good. Great to see you.
It's nice to be back. Thank you.
So over to you, Craig.
Thanks again, Alex. Thanks again. And once again, it's really nice to be back. We all know either by experience or through conversation with colleagues that the residential real estate market is hot. It's on fire, and it is. I am going to present to everybody the numbers. The numbers are somewhat startling. And I think it is the year, the 2021 is the year to sell standing inventory. It is the year of the return of the popularity of condos. And it is also the year that we need the big developers in Miami, Related, PMG, Swire Properties, to start building again, because we are running out of supply. So with that said, let me go through the numbers with you. So let's get started. Last March, Chairman Powell, Jerome Powell, who is the chairman of the Federal Reserve, lowered the Fed fund rate to near zero, an unprecedented move by the United States Fed. And it was done to support the economy during what they expected to be a free-falling stock market, a free-falling world economy, unemployment rates exceeding 30%. We're talking about Great Depression numbers. And to prevent that from happening, Chairman Powell acted very swiftly. The United States acted in an unprecedented, world-class way, and they lowered interest rates to near zero. We all kind of know amazing benefit of those moves were by Chairman Powell. In addition to, about a month later, he approved $7 trillion of quantitative easing, which basically means he infused the economy with close to $7 trillion worth of fresh liquidity, mostly to banks and to Wall Street, to keep the economy, once again, from slipping into a dark depression because of this virus. The results have been the highest stock market in the history of the United States. The results have been unemployment dropping swiftly. Part of it has benefited residential real estate all over the United States. I did predict last March that this move by Powell would cause mortgage rates to follow, that they would decline, and that once we were out of the quarantine, you could expect residential real estate sales to strengthen. I'm kind of giggling when I say that because I said strengthen, not knowing what would really happen. So that's what we talked about. We also kind of talked about New York, because there were an awful lot of people that thought that New York, there was going to be this mass exodus from New York, very much like September 11th. And I know that Michael Goldstein, the president of the Estates of Acqualina, shared my point of view that New York is New York. It's not going to be quite as dismal as people think, because after all, it is New York. However, a year later, while I am still optimistic that New York one day will return to its glory, it's not going to happen so fast. And we will talk about that towards the end of this presentation as to the reasons why. So I might have been a little too optimistic about that. But with that said, let's continue on with the presentation. Here's what happened with mortgage rates. Now, a year ago, we were around 3.5%, which is still a very, very low mortgage rate. I've been in real estate for over 40 years. I remember the first home I ever purchased in New Jersey. I negotiated a 9% 30-year fixed rate loan. I was so proud of myself. And yet, by today's standards, I was paying an incredibly high mortgage rate. Today it's down to 2.65%. It is the opinion of mortgage experts that this sub 3% mortgage market will remain for probably 18 to 24 months from now. So we'll get into the demographic shift from all corners of the United States to not just Florida, but South Florida. But so much of this buying frenzy with Americans who are used to buying real estate with mortgages is being fueled by these unprecedented low mortgage rates. So thank you, Chairman Powell, for influencing that. Let's go to the next slide. So single-family homes. What I find interesting, let's stay here for 1 second. We've broken 5 inventory records in the last 5 months. About 3 years ago, I was convinced that most millennials, and I have 2 children who are both millennials, were confirmed renters. They're going to have an enjoyable 30s. They're not going to buy. They're not going to settle down. They're not going to drop anchor because they're going to enjoy their lifestyle. I guess the pandemic, combined with the quarantine and so much introspection from all of us about everything in our lives, combined with these ridiculously low mortgage rates, caused millennials to say, it's time to buy. It's time to move on to the next chapter of my life. Perhaps they're starting to form families. Perhaps that is the next outgrowth of those decisions. But I'm sharing this with you because the biggest part of the single-family home buying frenzy last year were South Florida millennials. The second largest group were out-of-towners. Let's talk about New Yorkers that were coming down here and buying houses because 2 words governed their thinking: social distancing. This virus had everybody spooked, and a house is a very easy form of ownership to manage social distancing. You decide who comes in and who goes out. In addition to which, as we all know, condominium associations throughout South Florida were not allowing brokers into these buildings, no visitors whatsoever. Elevators were a petri dish for this coronavirus. So consequently, condo sales dropped, but it really didn't matter because nobody really wanted to talk about a condo. No buyers coming to Florida or millennials interested in buying were interested in a condo. They all wanted houses. Let's look at the next slide, and I will illustrate to you these records that we're talking about. In mid-November, we had a 12-year record of 9,800 single-family homes in supply throughout Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. Last time we had 9,800 houses for sale was sometime in 2008. And please keep in mind that the population of Florida is not what it is today. It was much less by millions of people back in 2008. And I share that with you because when you see these inventory numbers drop and you put it in context with the growing population of South Florida, these inventory numbers are tight, perhaps scary tight. In December, we hit 8,500, which was a 15-year low, followed by January, 8,000, a 20-year low, followed by mid-February, 7,200 and change, which the best we could do is we discovered that was around a 25-year low of inventory available to purchase, Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, and now you're at 6,700 houses. This is an all-time low. And it is quite possible, folks, that by mid-April, you're in the 5,000s. Those of you who are following the demand requests of your buyers, be it millennials, be it out-of-towners, you know what I'm about to tell you. It's very hard to find a single-family home right now that suits a buyer's interest. I want a 4-bedroom house with a built-in pool and a grill in the backyard in a gated community. Well, good luck finding that now. Lots of those were available a year ago. Not so much anymore. The low interest rates, mortgage rates, combined with this continued in-migration from all corners of the United States to South Florida, is going to put further pressure on these inventory numbers. So yes, expect in April that we'll be reporting single-family home inventory in the 5,000s. There's no houses for sale. That's an exaggerated statement, but I'm trying to make the point. the inventory levels are incredibly tight. And now it simply caused people to say, what about condos? Condos are no longer considered dangerous because we're in a different phase of this coronavirus. With vaccines out there, with the consciousness and sensitivity of wearing masks, being somewhat social distant from people, particularly strangers, condos have resumed their popularity in some pretty significant numbers. Let's go to the next slide and we'll show you what we mean. We'll start with multiple listing. Let's go to the next slide. This is interesting. You know, I've been living here for 30 years, and what I know about multiple listing resales is that for every 2 transactions, one's a house and one's a condo. It's always been like that. One's a house and one's a condo. Look at Q1, Q2 of last year. 70% of the transactions were single family homes. I mean, it was clear that everybody wanted a house. Everybody wanted to protect themselves with social distancing. And the numbers speak for itself. By the second half of 2020, we started to see a return of a normal, getting somewhat normal. 54% of the transactions were single family homes. 46% were condos. Condos were coming back. The prices of the houses were getting very, very high. And the prices of the condos were a bargain. And in fact, they still are, which we'll talk about in a second. Here we are now in the first quarter of 2021, and we see that the relationship is returning to something normal, 50-50. 51% of the transactions this year have been houses, 49% are condos. Condos are coming back. Let's go to the next slide. This I found fascinating, unprecedented, and you'll never see this again once the dust settles from the world we're living in. Last year, 40% of all single-family homes sold above list price, above list price. Now, those of you who are general realtors that have been trading houses, you knew that a lot of houses were selling above list price, but you probably didn't know it was close to half of your transactions. But look at condos. Only 1% of condos are selling above list price. Speaks very loudly to the bargain that how the condos represent. Or maybe let me say it differently. Without question, mid-March 2021, single family homes are a seller's market. They have the advantage. It's list plus, it's no inspections, no contingencies. You want this house, buy it because there's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 other people behind you. And you know that's true. Condos, not so much. There's still an ample supply of condos, particularly from the condos that were built in this last cycle. This last cycle that we're now ending began in 2012, and there's a lot of condos from that cycle. Close to 20,000 condos got built that are in MLS, trading at some very, very popular prices. They are getting absorbed, but that's where the buy is, and that's why condos, at least this year, represent a buying opportunity. Let's go to the next slide, and I'll show you what's happening with inventory in MLS for condos. So back in November, Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, all condos, all price points, from 100,000 to 50 million. 25,000 condos were on the market. And then in November, 23,000. And then by December, 23,000. By mid-January, 22. By mid-February, 20. Now you're at 19. Let me put all this in perspective for you. The net effect of single-family homes is a reduction on a monthly average of 750 single-family homes available to purchase every month. So sales are outpacing listings by a rate of 750 single-family homes every single month. Condos, since November, double that. Condos are dropping by 1,500 a month. So sales in MLS are outpacing new listings net by 1,500 a month. Yes, it's for sure by summer at this pace, that 19,000 number by the end of the summer will be below 10,000. It's anyone's guess on this, webinar where you think condo prices are headed. And when you forecast it for yourself, use what's happened in the last 6 months with single family houses as your guide. The scales have tipped now towards condos. That's where the buying opportunities are. That's where a lot of your customers are asking to take you. That's resale inventory. Now we're going to get into developer inventory, which is getting very, very tight. Let's go to the next slide. New construction. So we talked about this last cycle. Close to 20,000 condos got built from Coconut Grove to the south, Fort Lauderdale to the north. Of those, 1,300 are unsold. Some are currently under construction, which we will talk about. In standing inventory, only 671. And it is ISG and RelatedISG's forecast that by the end of this year, that is 671 are all gone. The 1,289 will be probably 50% of those will also be sold, leaving very little developer inventory for sale going into next year. Let's go to the next slide. This is how the developer inventory is dropping. You can see last year, January of 2020, we were at 1,650 unsold developer units. That has dropped to 1,289. But please keep in mind that from March of last year, right through the end of September, no matter who you're talking to, I can assure you that developer sales were flat. They were scary flat, and we all know why. We couldn't get into the buildings, and more than that, people were not requesting condos. They wanted houses until the thought process changed, until the consciousness of, or even the conversation about the coronavirus began to change, and it all changed around October. The big drop you see in inventory, most of it occurred in the last quarter of last year and is continuing on today. Let's go to the next slide. Sunny Isles Beach. You know, today's webinar is sponsored by the Estates of Acqualina, and I wanted to demonstrate to them and to all of you what's going on in Sunny Isles Beach. I was on a call last summer with a hedge fund out of Boston, last summer, like June or July, and they were asking me about developer inventory in Sunny Isles Beach. And by last summer, you know, I said there was somewhere around 250 unsold developer units in Sunny Isles Beach. And their response was, no, Craig, you're way off. It's closer to 500. I said, excuse me, 500 condos were available for sale a couple of years ago, not anymore. And by the end of the year, that number is going to be closer to 200. Sunny Isles is going to get very popular with this movement of people from the New York area that want large spaces. Well, the numbers hold true. There were 300 unsold developer units last January. Today, you're under 100, or under 200 rather. Keep in mind, most of those sales occurred in the last quarter of last year. Folks, I'm telling you, by the end of 2021, the 197 unsold units that you see there, controlled by developers. And we're talking about the Ritz-Carlton, we're talking about the Estates of Acqualina, and we're talking about just a few units left at Armani Casa. I understand that they're under 20 units for sale now. Almost all of those will be sold. Almost all at the current pace. This picked up dramatically. And what's coming next year is zero in terms of inventory. Let's go to the next slide. This shows deliveries. Now I'm going to get into what we call in the Miami report supply shock. We've kind of been discussing that as a concept for the last couple of years, that it's coming. It's coming. Developers didn't build any new condos in the last few years, principally because the dollar was trading so high around the world and you couldn't get that fresh pre-construction deposit money out of Latin America, which has fueled most of the pre-construction activity historically in the last 20 years here in South Florida. So developers stopped building. There have been very, very few groundbreakings. Look at this. Look at these macro numbers. In this year, the Grove Arbor 57 Ocean, Monaco Yacht Club and Residences, the Estates of Acqualina South Tower, 2000 Ocean in Hallandale, and the Four Seasons Residences in Fort Lauderdale will deliver. That's 6 condos will deliver supply. By the way, I've already reviewed, I haven't given you those sales, the inventory numbers in those buildings. We kind of did it previously in the macro slide, but I can assure you that most of the inventory in most of these buildings is already spoken for. Next year in 2022, 4 projects are being delivered. Aston Martin in downtown Miami, the Sony Bahia in Edgewater, the Estates at Acqualina North Tower, and Aurora in Sunny Isles Beach. Once again, significant number of those units have already been sold. In 2023, of Mr. C residences in Coconut Grove being delivered. In 2024, from Coconut Grove to the south, Fort Lauderdale to the north, 0. In 2025, in Brickell, Una residences. And based on what is currently under construction or being pre-sold, 0 in 2026. The lack of construction of new condominium inventory from the last couple of years is now starting to become obvious to everyone. We are running out of developer inventory. MLS inventory with condos is dropping at an unprecedented rate. Welcome, folks, to supply shock. What happened, it is our opinion at ISG and RelatedISG that 2021 will be for the condominium inventory what 2020 was to single family home inventory. At the end of this year, there's not going to be a lot of condominium supply. There will be this continued migration to Florida from all points of the compass throughout the US, which we will talk about in a couple of minutes here. It's your guess, as well as mine, what happens with pricing, the value of these condominium properties, fueled as well by these very, very low mortgage rates. Let's go to the next slide. This is putting things in perspective for you. For those of you that were selling condos like I was in the 2000s, 58,900, close to 60,000 condominium units got built, got developed from Coconut Grove to the south, Fort Lauderdale to the north, east of Interstate 95. You might recall back in those days, we talked about a bubble. Too much inventory, too much inventory. By the way, that is way too much inventory. And the bubble did burst in 2008, but burst for all kinds of businesses in 2008. And yet, by the end of 2011, all of that inventory was absorbed. All of it. The defaulted inventory that was foreclosed on by construction lenders, it all got absorbed by the end of 2011, either by investors or end users. And if they were investors, they rented them. If they were end users, they were using them. And boy, oh boy, does that speak to the resiliency and popularity of South Florida. In this last decade, as you can see, we built almost 20,000 condos. The underwriting guidelines were very different. And those of you selling condos, as I was, you know what I mean. In the 2000s, we asked buyers to put 20% down. I'll see you closing. In this last decade, it was, we need 50% down, and I'll see you closing. Those underwriting guidelines by themselves cut down the amount of inventory all by itself, imposed on developers by construction lenders. Because in case another 2008 shows up, we're not going to be left with all of this unsold inventory. Now we're into the roaring 20s, so to speak. We have 1,600 condos under construction. This does not include what's being proposed, which we will discuss. Actually, I'll discuss it now. Related is proposing Baccarat Towers in Brickell Avenue. Property Markets Group, PMG, proposing the Waldorf Astoria in downtown Miami. These, my hat's off to both of those companies. Those are 2 high-rises that are about to start pre-sales new construction this year, probably in the next 60, 90 days. But we need more. Less than 1,700 condos are currently under construction. Now, match that with the current demand, this population boom that we're experiencing from all corners of the United States, with continued buying activity from Latin America, we don't have enough inventory. We don't have enough supply, and we continue to call this supply shock. We have called it, we're continuing to call it supply shock, because we're about to hit a wall with even condo inventory. We already hit it with single family homes. That's putting the last 20 years for all of you in perspective. Let's go to the next slide. Population, here we go. The Wall Street Journal, just a couple of weeks ago, produced a column, and the headline said, the old New York is no more. And it was written by a woman named Peggy Noonan. Peggy Noonan was the speechwriter for former President Ronald Reagan, and now she's a columnist for the Wall Street Journal. She's a New Jersey resident. She has a deep love for her city, her main city, New York. But my optimism of the return of New York a year ago was a little too optimistic, because the coronavirus changed paradigms. The coronavirus has been the ultimate disruptor. It changed the way we live our lives. It's changed the way we do business. It's changed the way our children are educated. God, it's changed everything. And look what Peggy Noonan writes. Just 2 weeks ago, in New York, we're witnessing for the first time in a century and a half the collapse of the commuter model. You had to be in the magic metropolis if you were going to be in the top of your profession, but now you don't have to be in the city. Top people are everywhere, and everywhere includes South Florida. Let's go to the next slide. A continuation of the story reads, New York needs to hold on to the wealthy, but this is where it gets a little stressed out for Governor Cuomo, on top of all of his other issues right now. Here we go. The top 5% in New York pay 62% of the state income taxes. The Partnership for New York, this is an organization that tracks demographic shifts, reports that 300,000 residents in high-income neighborhoods have filed change of address forms at the U.S. Postal Service and are going to either lower tax or no state income tax states, like Florida, like Texas, like Florida. The top 5% of New York paying 62% of the state income taxes. Sadly, for the state of New York, a big percentage of that top 5% are moving to Florida, putting further strain on the financial condition of not just the state of New York, but the city of New York, slowing down its rebirth from the coronavirus. The next slide points to people a lot smarter than all of us that have figured out that we got to get out of there. Let's go to the next slide, please. These are some of the hedge funds, Wall Street firms that have already made decisions to come to South Florida and in fact are here. Now, a lot of you heard of Carl Icahn. Many of you know about Goldman Sachs moving their major headquarters to Fort Lauderdale. But there are 5 other major hedge funds on this screen who have already relocated here. And when you dig deep into the reasons why Carl Icahn, Blackstone, Citadel, Goldman Sachs have already made their choices to move here, it is in part because they know that the financial jigsaw puzzle facing the state of New York is so complex that they kind of don't want to be around while that's getting repaired, because it's going to take a long time, years, perhaps years, not months. And they've already made the decision to come here. These are some of the top 7. There are others, and there are that have already relocated here. There are others that are not, that haven't made the decision yet, but I suspect we will see a lot more a year from now. Let's go to the next slide. This is where we track tax returns with Bloomberg. Some of you may have seen this slide before. But when we look at the states most affected in the Northeast corridor anyway, by the Tax Reform Act of 2017, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Illinois, and Massachusetts. When you look at the migration numbers from those states, and keep in mind, in 2019 and in 2020, every single one of those states lost population. The net effect was a loss. In 2019, out of 50 states in the United States, New York was dead last. It lost population at bigger numbers than any other state in the US. We don't have the final US Census numbers right now, but most are saying that California for the first time will be in red numbers as well. It will have lost population in 2020. But what's interesting about this slide is the number one state that all these people move to is Florida. And yes, you are receiving, all of you, folks from every one of those states. And now you know what you probably already do know, but you know by the way they're filing their tax returns. These folks are not coming here to buy second homes. They're making Florida their permanent residence, just like you, just like me. Let's go to the next slide. I think this is there's two more slides, folks, and then we'll open it up to some Q&A. This illustrates the incredible demand from the condo side in terms of the buyer profile. 10 years ago, nearly half of all condos were sold to Latin Americans, 21% to US domestic. And US domestic could be a Florida resident, could be a family from New York, but it was 50% Latin America, 21% US. 10 years later, it is the exact opposite. It is dominated now by the US. Given the fact that the dollar remains stubbornly high, I think you can expect that ratio will continue for all of 2021 and perhaps most of 2022. Let's go to the final slide. This seems a little self-serving. I was reluctant to put this in here, but I was interviewed by Forbes magazine, back in February. And the main question was, what is the main driver of people moving out of these states? And is it sustainable? And what I'm basically saying is the US Tax Reform Act of 2017 is the main driver that we're seeing right now. And unless it is amended, unless it is repealed, when the dust settles from the coronavirus, God bless, hopefully towards the end of this year, the virus will be in our rearview mirror. But the main driver that's moving people out of there is this Tax Reform Act. It's very expensive to live in the states I just mentioned. I never expected, I don't think anybody here expected the amount of people that are moving here from California. But that state as well was hit very hard by Tax Reform 17. The weather in South Florida very much mimics the climate of Southern California. And I think that's part of the reason that they're coming here. Plus, we are in a no state income tax state, which makes it doubly attractive. So unless something changes with Tax Reform 2017, this migration, this in-migration that we're all experiencing from different parts of the US will continue. It will continue to purchase the inventory we have to sell. And we need developers to start building again. Let's go to the takeaways from today's presentation. So I showed you how developer inventory is in fact declining, even in Sunny Isles Beach, and especially at the Estates at Acqualina. And resale inventory for condos is now selling at twice the rate of single family homes. This is a brand new phenomenon in the last 4 months. We are dealing with historically low mortgage rates, which will more than likely remain that way for the next 18 to 24 months. Population growth. When you drive on Interstate 95, US 1, Collins Avenue, I know you're probably doing what I'm doing. I'm looking at all these different license plates from all over the United States. Seattle, Washington, Louisville, Kentucky, Georgia, and of course, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and yeah, California. And number 4, we are in supply shock. Those of you that own property are enjoying watching your property values go up in value. Those folks that are coming here from the Northeast, it's still a ridiculous bargain compared to what property sells for up there. A year from now, you can forecast as well as I can where you think the price of condos will be. And once again, I will leave you with this thought. Use the recent experience of single-family home activity as your guide. Condos are going to be expensive, especially when you consider the lack of new supply that's in the pipeline that could be delivered over the next 3 or 4 years. 1 or 2 buildings doesn't do it. Once again, I take my hat off to Related and PMG for announcing a couple of projects, but we need so many more just to meet demand. And that, folks, is the end of my presentation today on March the 10th, 2021.
Craig, thank you. Wow is all I can say. Some great information. And this recording will be made available on our Instagram page for the Estates at Acqualina, so everyone can watch it, share it. But when will the Miami report be printed? Because that's what people are asking in the chat.
We are hoping to get it to the printer within 3 weeks. Your invitation and Michael's invitation, Alex, caused us to really buckle down and get focused on our Miami report. And these new trend numbers that I just presented, we believe is interesting enough to launch, particularly the revived popularity of condos here in South Florida. So give it 3 weeks and we'll have it available at Brickell City Center. We'll have it available to W in Fort Lauderdale. We'll have it available at the Estates at Acqualina.
Great. So everybody, you're hearing this first. Over 100 and so many people on this call. You're getting it first from Craig. So, wow. So we're going to do a nice Q&A with you. We have lots of questions, but I also want to bring on a special guest and also a special friend to you as well, Michael Goldstein, our President of Sales for the Estates at Acqualina. Hello, Michael.
Craig, what a difference a year makes.
How about that, Michael? We still have our hair and we're still alive.
Exactly. And it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So, well, Michael, thanks for joining us. So we'll be addressing questions to Michael and Craig. But just as Michael said, yes, Craig, a little less than a year ago, we were on the same platform talking about the same market. And at the time, you mentioned that the market was going to bounce back. And look, you were so correct. There you are. Okay. Yes, so what does the future hold for the condo market in the next 6 to 9 months?
Well, as I try to touch on, Alex, the condos are now selling at twice the pace of single family homes, just by the numbers. I expect that's going to continue. I expect in 9 months, when we're talking about Christmas, December, you're going to hear a lot of people. The Estates at Acqualina, I believe, based on the product you're delivering and the popularity of your project, you'll be sold out. Almost everybody in Sunny Isles will be sold out. And the conversation at the Christmas cocktail parties is going to be, oh my God, look what happened with the prices of condos. It's almost unstoppable, Alex.
Yeah. We're going to have you back on in December.
Okay. No, with pleasure. With pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah. So this question came in from Adriana Vargas. She wanted to know what's the difference between the last boom and this one?
Inventory. Adriana, in the last boom, I guess you're referring to the last cycle even. Developers lined up and they developed nearly 20,000 condos from Coconut Grove up to Fort Lauderdale. The ironic conditions that exist are mind-numbing because you have a better economy now than you had 10 years ago, but you don't have any inventory to sell. Developers have got to get their ducks lined up and start building. They have to start building again. So the big difference, Adriana, is supply. It's not that developers don't understand these numbers. It's they've got to get themselves organized and start building again. They were much more organized 10 years ago than they are now. They got to get the cork out of the bottle and start building again. That's the difference.
And that's what
Greg, remember the other thing, there's a shortage of land.
Well, that is a constraint, Michael, undoubtedly. Yes, there's not that many sites available. And that's a very solid point. Buying old buildings, knocking them down, those negotiations are happening now. And that puts even more strain on supply, because it takes a while to negotiate, to buy all those old buildings, then implode them, and then get your pre-sales, then build it again. No, supply in this decade is going to be the conversation, the lack of it.
And that's what you're referring to as supply shock.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because Alex, most people love to talk about the oversupply in Miami. They did it again. The oversupply in Miami. Oh, those developers, they did it again. No, this is the complete opposite of most of the conversations that we're all used to hearing.
Mm-hmm. So with that, Michael, so what are you telling buyers who say they want to wait to buy?
It's very simple. If they're going to wait, there's going to be nothing left. It's the old saying with these buyers. They say, well, I'll wait till the project's done and then I'll buy then.
Mm-hmm.
By then, the price will be up $200-300 a square foot. I mean, what we've seen in the last 60 days to sell $375 million at an average price of over $8 million is just mind-boggling. Look, we've created something unique and different. Timing is everything. Our first tower is going to be delivered this year, and the second tower will be delivered February of 22. But what we're seeing is people basically are coming here to live. I mean, it's not going to be like the old buildings with 15% primary. I think you're going to see buildings close to 40-45%. You're going to be living there all year round.
Mm-hmm. So, Michael, this came in. Michael, they're asking how many residents for sale at the estates. So out of the 248, they wanted to know.
They have but I'm telling them right now, they should bring their clients to the sales center right away before it's all gone. There's great opportunities right now in the South Tower. 4 bedrooms starting at about 4.7 million. We have 1 penthouse left in the South Tower at 31 million, 9,000 square feet. The North Tower, we have residences, they're basically 4 and 5 bedrooms from 4,380 square feet to 4,700 square feet. Basically, the price range is about 7.2 to 9 million. These residents come completely furnished. The only thing you need to move in is your toothbrush. Come by the sales center and make an appointment, because basically we're seeing an average of anywhere from 10 to 15 people a day. So I suggest you make an appointment, bring your clients here. This is the last opportunity to buy the world's finest residences.
So, Michael, there was a recent Real Deal headline that said the Estates at Acqualina is offering Florida's most expensive penthouse for the buyer to customize. Can you share a little bit more about this new penthouse?
Sure. I mean, this is all based on the marketplace. We had to create a whole new collection of residences, which we call the Ultra Platinum Collection. We're selling right now whole floor units, and that seems to be a huge demand. So our residents are 9,000 square feet to 9,400 square feet, anywhere from 5 to 7 bedrooms. When you see a house sell for 140 million in Palm Beach, or you see a single family home sell for 49, we created a $59 million penthouse that has over 17,000 square feet, which basically what we're doing, it's like a canvas. We can sit down with your client and tailor make the apartment to their needs. We can go up to 9 bedrooms. It has 2 oceanfront pools. It has a pool that cantilevers off the building looking down on the sand, 676 feet, 20-foot floor ceilings, completely furnished with a $3.2 million package from Luxury Living. It comes with a 2-car / oceanfront cabana furnished by Fendi. It comes with a 4-car garage that you can park yourself. It comes with a 1-bedroom service suite for your favorite guests. There's nothing like it. And at $59 million for that square footage, you're only talking about $3,300 a square foot for a furnished residence. And that's not expensive.
Incredible. Wow. And you're just about to launch the renderings for that. So we can
Yes.
send that to the brokers who are listening. So Craig, going back to you, can you elaborate more on the opportunities in the condo market, given the fact that the single family housing market is so scarce?
Yes, but if I may, let me just amplify something about what Michael just said. These large apartments that the estates are developing is a reflection of what he was trying to say. Families are moving here, and they want large spaces. And my hat is off to the estates for accommodating that demand. I was with Michael and Jules on Friday, and they were explaining the kind of people that are moving here from, whether they're from Massachusetts or New York or New Jersey or Sacramento, California. They're moving here. And this Sunny Isles Beach used to be, a small 2-bedroom, a small 3-bedroom condo market. It's changing. They want Sunny Isles Beach, which is probably the most underrated beach in all of South Florida. It's so beautifully well maintained and managed. They want to be on the beach. They want to be in Sunny Isles, and they need big spaces. And once again, my hat's off to the estates for adapting and actually seeing this coming. Alex, I think the reason that condos are selling at twice the pace now of single-family homes has a lot to do with the tight supply of single-family homes. There's just not that much out there, combined with the fact that the paradigm shifted again. A year ago, you don't want to go into a condo, you'll get the coronavirus. Now it's like, no, that's not how you get it. And I've already been vaccinated, or I'm going to get vaccinated, and I'm wearing a mask. The whole thing's changed. So people are not afraid of going into condos at all. The buying opportunities are there because there's still a significant enough supply, particularly from multiple listing in brand new condos, which makes it a hell of a buy. So the tight single family home market, combined with the peace of mind of going back into a condo, combined with the great pricing that condos currently represent, that's why condos are the buyer's market. But it's not, and I don't want to sound like such a salesman, but by the numbers, this is not going to last very long. The end of the year will be the end of this buyer's market for condos in South Florida.
So thank you, Craig. So Michael, so the buyers now, they're extremely savvy. They've done their homework before they come in. So what would you say to our broker community, the brokers that are listing right now, about how to sell the estates at Acqualina?
Very simple. If they can afford it, just bring them here. We will close. My sales team will close. With the amenities and services that we offer, we'll have 5 restaurants. We just announced that we have Ava, the #1 Mediterranean restaurant in New York, will be here at the Estates of Acqualina. We have Il Molino. We have KU, 24-hour room service. The amenities, the service, it's all about the living experience which we offer here. If your client can afford the price range, I guarantee you we will not lose them. Just bring them here. We do all the work. We write you a check. We make you happy.
It sounds simple.
And just to make one other point, not only are we taking care of buyers, but we're also building car vaults. And, these are 4-car, 5-car vaults, almost like a man cave. These are residents your car has always been dreaming about. So not only take care of homeowners, we take care of their cars. So, we have a limited supply of car vaults that will sell. Basically, we already sold one already. They start at $1 million. So not only do you have services and amenities, but you also have a place to keep your unbelievable car collection.
Amazing. And so are the car vaults, they're across the street, correct, from the
Yes.
estate development? Okay. So with all this, Virginia Pinto, she wants to know, when will the estates at Acqualina be delivered to owners?
Well, the first tower we're going to deliver September, October this year. And the North Tower we will deliver February, March of 2022.
So exciting.
Perfect timing.
This other question came in from Pamela Diaz de Leon. She asked, where would you move to or invest in? So this is probably more for you, Craig. What new area, not Miami Beach, where would you go to next to live, the next best place? Any insights there?
Well, I mean, I listen, I can tell you, and I think Michael Goldstein will agree with me. I'm not seeing a lot of investors these days. I'm seeing all end users. If they're from Latin America, they're looking to buy second homes that they're really going to use. If they are Americans, they're mostly moving here. It's such a neighborhood specific thing. The rental market has picked up significantly because of this domestic immigration. Because a lot of folks, they rent for a year, Alex, to figure out what neighborhood they want to live in. There's a lot of New Yorkers like me that love the melting pot of Miami. I love listening to Espanol and Portuguese and everything that Miami brings. Now, there are other Americans that are not like Michael or Craig that want to go to like West Palm Beach, where it's much more American. It is, listen, Miami is still Miami. You can talk about Stuart, Florida. You can talk about Jupiter, Florida as perhaps the next growth area. And that might be true. And in fact, it is somewhat true because people are moving there. Naples, Florida is gaining enormous popularity. It's developing like Boca Raton did 20, 30 years ago. It's booming. But Miami is still Miami. Hey, Alex, whenever you travel anywhere, and you meet someone for the first time, and they ask you where you live, and you say Miami, tell me what the reaction is on their faces.
Wow.
Always.
Lucky you. Yeah.
Always. It's Miami.
Yes.
So where do I recommend? I recommend you go where you want to live. I'm not seeing a lot of investors. I'm seeing people that want to live in Florida and they're choosing which neighborhood or town they want to live in. And I'm sorry, Miami's still Miami. It is magical. And it's amazing how 2020 made Miami and Florida more popular than ever.
I know, it's incredible.
You got every major restaurant from California, New York, and Chicago opening up here in South Florida. You really have everything here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And we're so excited, like you mentioned, about the New York Greek restaurant Avra coming. It's great.
Big.
That will open at the end of the year. So a couple more questions. This came in from Virginia again. She wants to know, Michael, what is the starting price for a 3-bedroom? She also said she has a buyer coming from New York tomorrow. Where can she get an unbranded presentation?
Well, we have her email address. We'll make sure we get it to her. So basically, what we build here is the smallest unit's 3,287 square feet. It's a 4-bedroom or a 3-bedroom office, 3-bedroom den. We build flex plans. They start at 4.7 million, turnkey furnished. They get to go and select their furniture. So the day they close, they give us a 2-week notice. The furniture is delivered. They move right in. They don't have to wait 6 months or 8 months to pull a permit or hire a designer and do finishes and pay maintenance. The price point from there goes up to $7 million for 4 bedrooms, 4,400 square feet. And then you go from 9.2 million up for almost 5,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms.
Okay, great. Thank you. And so, Craig, this is more for you. This is from Armando Vera. He said, rumors are spreading that interest rates are already starting to go up. How long do you expect we will enjoy this record low interest rate?
Most mortgage experts that I know, and I ask this question a lot, so much so I don't even ask the question anymore because they're always giving me the same answer. 18 months from now, they will stay below 3%. These little upticks that you're hearing about, don't overreact. Okay. Don't overreact. Your mortgage money is still going to be the bargain of our lives for the next 18 months, maybe 2 years, but 18 months.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, because then he just goes on and says, how do you expect this increase in interest rates to affect the sales? But like you're saying, it's going up incrementally.
If it went up a point, Alex, the people that are coming here, are coming anyway. I can tell you that a lot of these condo projects, like I think about Brickell City Center, which I handle the sales for Swire, 65% of our sales are cash. So don't sweat the mortgage rate, even if it goes up a point, which is not no one is forecasting that. It's not going to stop this in-migration of Florida. There are much, much bigger forces at play that have made Florida incredibly popular for the moment. So Armando, with all respect, chill out on the mortgage rates. That's not going to be your issue. I promise you.
Thank you. So, Michael, Craig was saying that people are coming from the Northeast, from California. So where are you seeing buyers from? Who's coming through the door at the Estates of Acqualina?
Everything he said, plus California, Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, Boston, Portland. It's across the whole United States. Everybody's moving here for 3 reasons: taxes, the weather, and the value that you get in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I mean, it's the whole United States. I mean, we see very few. I mean, we get some people from Mexico, but right now, basically, it's all U.S. Okay. And it's young. Your average age of your buyer is between 46 and 50.
Mm-hmm. So you've always said that people buy at the Estates at Acqualina for the lifestyle, to live here and not to invest. So this is exactly what's happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's coming here to buy for investment, a $7, $8, or $9 million apartment. They're buying these apartments to live. We sold 5 apartments in the last 60 days that were basically over 16 million, 9,000 square feet, 6 bedrooms.
Wow, incredible.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Impressive.
Wow.
So, yeah. So Michael, another question. So in terms of the interiors, what is the difference between the Estates at Acqualina residences and then the other pre-construction developments?
Okay, so most of the developers deliver what's called designer ready, which is basically a kitchen and bathroom and raw floors. We deliver 2 buildings. The South Tower, we deliver what's called furniture ready. We spent $250 a square foot to build it from designer ready to furniture ready: floors, base, paint, lighting, a level 5 custom home finish, pre-wired speakers, pre-wired motorized shades. We do something that nobody else does. In the North Tower, we went 1 step ahead. We deliver it furnished. So that's where the resident comes in, sits with our in-house designer who helps them make all their selections. That takes about 2 hours. We then send them down to luxury living for another 2 hours, where the designers lay out all their furniture and fabrics. All the thing that we request from them is send photos of your family that we could put in the picture frames on the side of the bed when you move and close that day.
Oh, I love that. Great touch. Making everyone feel so special. Amazing. So this wraps it up. We're right at noon. What a great presentation, Craig. Everybody who's watching, you got to hear it first. The Miami Report on AcquaTalks with Craig Studnicky. So Craig, thank you so much. We got great comments. Everybody wants this report, so it's hot. So you said 3 weeks.
Yeah, give me 3 weeks, please. Give me 3 weeks. But I want to get it out as soon as believe me, I want to get it out as soon as possible as well. But I want to thank Alex. I want to thank you and Michael for this invitation again. I enjoy working with you, not just in helping promote the Estates at Acqualina, but in promoting, South Florida and why the South Florida real estate market is as healthy as it's ever been. And I appreciate you giving me an opportunity.
We appreciate you with all that information and knowledge, because it does help everybody out there. And I hope the next conversation we have, we won't wait a year to say, a year later. But, we hope to have more projects. And if my fearless leaders out there listening, we got to build.
Go get them, Jules.
I was just going to say, are you talking to Jules? Yes. But everyone, so the recording is going to be available this afternoon on Instagram, Estates at Acqualina. Follow us if you're not. And then you could watch it, share the recording. You could screenshot like I did, Craig, during your presentation. I kept taking screenshots of the slides, such impactful information. So I think that's probably the best way until the report comes out in 3 weeks. So you heard it here first. Craig, thank you so much. We so love having you on the show. Michael, always good.
Greg. Thanks, buddy. Alex, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone. We will see you
everybody.
at AcquaTalks next month.